How would I organise European defence? Well, the main theatres of operations for the foreseeable future will be the important ones are Africa, the Central Asia, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Why? Because those are the areas which China has an interest in and the Bin Laden crime family has an interest in. Indonesia, for instance, has the second largest population of Muslim people anywhere in the world aside from India itself. Also, we must develop a maritime power in the EU. How would I go about doing this? Well, to disrupt China's commerce, we must have raiding fleets of submarines, attack submarines, and also counter raiding forces which can tie up any attempt by the Chinese to attack those raiding forces. So you would have counter raiders for the counter raiders, in a sense. Also, Europe must build up a home fleet with autonomous carrier groups. Up to 12 would be in parity with the United States, so that the Western alliance between the EU and the United States will have about 24 carrier groups. Now, each carrier group will consist of one carrier, several cruisers, and several frigates. The idea of a home fleet is to protect the commerce routes of Europe down the East African continent. And why would I include an independent Boer Republic in this defence strategy? Because it will give the Europe a base in the southern oceans. Now, I've said about how I would go around creating a Boer Republic on the EU model. The Boer Republic would be a strong ally of the European Union in Africa, and it would combat the influence of China and of the Bin Ladens in Africa. And also, the Afrikaners understand Africa, and we can thus build a Southern African Union, an East African Union, and a North African Union, and link them together with fast rail and air links. I've written a letter to Philip Case, which I will now try to read out to you. The EU would have naval bases in the southern oceans to protect the trade routes from Africa piracy. The EU would have a favourable trading partner in the Boer Republic and a military partner in intervening in the humanitarian and matters of EU interest in the African region. This opens a prospect of mineral wealth and exploration in Africa and producing a rail and air link along the East African Rift Valley, almost to, or with the goal to link it with a Middle Eastern Union and a North African Union. This would give the EU the resources of Africa to stare down any economic bid by China to attain hyperpower status above the EU. Now, that's an excerpt from my letter. Now, the EU armed forces have to include a division of experts to close down any attempt of cyber warfare on the EU itself and of Great Britain, of course, which would be an integral part, if not the core, of the EU. And because of that, and because of the British Empire's maritime history, and I on purpose speak about the British Empire because the EU must inherit the unions of Africa as partners, equal partners, not as an former imperial master, but equal partners with Africa. We must build up Africa so that it is of first world status, as with the Middle East, so that immigration is not a destabilising security influence on the EU. We must stem the flow of immigration and to the EU and increase our own population, the core population of the EU, those of Roman, Nordic, and Celtic descent, to get a militaristic or ethos in the EU would be a mistake, in my view, because our strengths lie in economic power. But I would bring back boxing and MMA into schools so that we have some sort of military ethos within the education system to prepare young men and women in certain roles. Then women should have a military role, such as medics, second line defence, sentry duties and other such things. If they can do the job, then they're welcome to do the job. But we must build up this military hyperpower status of the EU, because China will exploit its power and influence and weight in the Far East to kowtow Japan if it can possibly do it. Now, Japan has the third largest navy in the world after Great Britain, America, and so we must make a strategic alliance with Japan, so that we have a partner in the Far East and Australia, and also with Australia and New Zealand, with the EU and Canada. So we have partners in the Pacific Rim that we can depend upon. Now, the EU army will be constructed to a level of 1 million men, with we would try to develop a special forces training system based on the SAS, which would be around 10% of that force. So we're trying to build up our actual forces so that you get quality and quantity. And of course, quantity has a quality all of its own, was an old communist phrase. But of course, we will be against communism, as we're fighting Red China. But we cannot remove the idea that we will need to create new main battle tanks, new aircraft, and to be able to fight a conventional war against China. But our main enemy at the moment, who is actually actively trying to kill our citizens, is the Bin Laden crime family. And here, when terrorists are not necessarily using guns, but maybe low-level technology such as knives or improvised explosive devices, and just basically maybe trying to take people out with boxing or whatever, like some other martial art, we must develop a special forces that can operate within the civilian theatre unbeknownst, without the necessary need for the use of guns. And so the development of such a special force based on intelligence work mostly, and analysts and analysing what the enemy is doing, is vital. And I would propose that a large part of our actual forces, of around 1 million men, would be devoted to that civilian role, so that we can have a mobile force like the British Empire, which is based on the literal aspect of warfare, that is being able to move men by sea and air and deploy them in amphibious warfare, because most capitals are only 100 miles away from the sea. And the aim would be to capture the capital, which would be of a particular country, say like Pakistan, because we cannot afford to take over the whole country, but we can capture all the vital nerve centres, so to speak, the computers, the water, the power, and we can also use cyber warfare to shut them down. And our main goal must be the elimination of the Saudi and Bin Laden crime families, a peaceful resolution of our conflict with China, and between Iran and Israel as well, and the equal status of the United States and EU working together for global security. Thank you for listening.